Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Crook County Work Session. Today is Wednesday, November the 12th, 2025, 9:00 a.m. Start off with the agenda with the first order of business is public comment. Anyone in here in the public like to comment? Anyone online would like to make a comment, please type in your box there.
Nothing.
Don't see anything. Okay, moving along, discussion items, treasurer's report. Christina, good morning.
Good morning. Morning, Commissioners. Christina Heron, Finance Director. We have October's Treasurer's Report. So it was fairly similar to last month's as far as balances, which is good. We did take in around a little over $5 million in taxes in October. So whatever was taken in that needed to be turned over has been turned over. So these numbers reflect what we have to keep. As of right now, the 12th, well, technically as of yesterday, we're around 2 million behind in tax collections, but not too worried about it. We're expecting it to catch up at the end of this week and on Monday. So once we're past the 17th, we'll give you a final, this is what we looked at for this year. Anyways, we can run through this report and I can answer any questions that you have. It's the typical format where the first page is our bank account balances and then how those compare to our cash accounts and our general ledger. The next page is by fund and how that cash is allocated to each fund. And then our investments. And the final page is our interest rates and that we don't have any outstanding warrant indebtedness as noted. So you'll notice the local government investment pool interest rate went down just slightly with the change in rates. We're expecting that to maybe inch down a little bit more, but it's not too much of a change.
So it looks like it's I looked at my stuff and everything was down, but now it's kind of going back up. So hopefully keep our fingers crossed.
Yes, that would be fantastic. Happy to answer any questions that you may have or go through anything in depth.
Great. Yes. We don't have any questions for you. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
That's a great job.
Thank you.
Right. Under Sheriff.
Good morning.
Morning.
Can you make that bigger or is that not possible? Maybe I need better glasses. Okay, thank you very much.
October comp stats. So overall, we were down in almost all categories. I contribute that to the time of year. It's just that time of year, it's starting to cool off. Things start slowing down a little bit generally for us. But October, persons crimes, we had 17 reports written on persons crimes, which is down about a 58% decrease. In person crimes, property crimes was up a little bit at 18 property crimes last month, with a 27% increase. Community problems down a little bit. It was 121 reports written on community problems, such as community problems is going to be your DUI, your barking dog, just a big wide range. Sex crimes were down. We had 7 reports on sex crimes last month. So that was down 28%. POHs, which is your police officer hold, your mental health stuff where we take them to the hospital, is down by 1. And we had 3 POHs last month. Rest, and again, the rest on this are just for the sheriff's office. So felony arrests were way down. We had 3 felony arrests last month. Misdemeanor arrests were 15 and stayed the same. Juveniles all stayed the same. And then the all other was down by 1. Overall, to go back up on the reports, overall 166, which is about a 6% decrease in reports written last month. And then overall 25% decrease in arrests overall for just the sheriff's office. Jail stats, the total bookings was 85 last month, was a 3% increase. And then you can look at males, females, DUIs. There's 15 DUI arrests last month, so there's a 33% increase from the year prior. Assaults were
Well,
21, so 57% increase in assaults last month. I have no explanation for that.
so I know that I'm seeing people that I've never seen before. Is the city police, are their stats going up? I mean, just because I know you know about them.
I'm not sure. Listening to the radio and listening to their case numbers, it seems like they're about on par.
Okay,
For the year, I think we're right around 1,100 cases for the year, right now, which is about on par, maybe a little high for us. But the city's right, I think if I'm not mistaken, they're right around 1,500, which is about average for them. They're about that far ahead of us, just because of population density. The use of failed registered sex offender, we had 0. Jail use of forces was up a little bit. We had 2 use of force incidents in the jail last month, 0 suicide attempts, and 1 suicide watch for the month. So that's pretty good. And so we're up a little bit in the jail at 3%, as far as total bookings, because that's really what matters. And total bookings is going to include everyone. It's going to include the police department, OSP, everybody. Calls for service is considerably down. 1,208 calls for service last month, at 18% decrease, as opposed to 1,477 the year before, same month year before. That's going to be, I attribute some of that to staffing levels, because we just don't have the staff. The guys are getting bogged down on reports. Self-initiated stats is where it's going to really show. 486 self-initiated calls for service as opposed to 741 the year before, which is a 34% decrease. So that's going to be, self-initiated is going to be your traffic enforcement stuff. It's going to be just guys out and about doing, proactive policing. And so 34% decrease is a pretty significant decrease.
and that's due to your staffing?
Yeah, guys don't have time to do it.
We just don't have the people out there.
Yeah, and the guys don't have time. I mean, Monday morning, one of our guys arrested at DUI at 7:30 in the morning, on Monday morning. The guy, and I don't know all the details of it, but the guy wasn't cooperative. Brian had to come back to the office and write a search warrant to get blood. And then he didn't get done with that until noon, a little after noon. So it's a time consuming process. And so, he was telling me, I was looking at his desk and it was just riddled with paperwork, and he told me that was his second day back on day shift. And it was already buried in paperwork, so. Cases taken, so the reports written, 166, but cases taken was 77 last month. Another 16% decrease from the year before, which again is significant from self-initiated activity, I think. And so the reason for the difference is guys are responding 2-man to say a domestic, if 2 guys respond to a domestic, and then both people are going to take a report out of that, because one will interview one will interview the other, then they make a decision, somebody gets arrested or doesn't. And then that's why there's a discrepancy between cases taken and then reports actually written. Justice Center stats, 3,393 people came in to the Justice Center last month, as opposed to 2,755 in September. We don't have October stats, so I'll be able to compare the two starting in January, because that's when Jeremy started putting together all of these stats, was in January. So I'll be able to do the comparisons starting in January. 70 knives came in, or tried to come in, 4 pepper spray, 1 taser, another gun. I'm curious to see at the end of the year stats to see what that looks like for number of people that come in. It's going to be astronomically high. And then all of the flag security cases, there was 3 last month. I'd be curious to see how many there are at the end of the year as well. And then 13 cases took an additional deputy response last month. So the court found 3, but then it took 13 of those cases where we had to respond. So,
Not trying to pile more paperwork on you, but would it be difficult to add another column in your Excel spreadsheet here and put year to date on these? So we could compare every time on what it was,
Yeah.
last year?
yeah, so year to date, just I could do that.
Yeah, just from that date, the total from the last year,
Mhm.
and running comparison.
Okay,
It'll never be accurate till the end of the year, but it will give you an insight as time progresses. It could be more before the end of the year.
yeah, yeah. I did kind of tinker around with that a little bit because that stuff's interesting to me. But I never put it on this, but I can absolutely put another column in there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah,
This page, isn't that interesting?
Okay, moving on, Katie.
Can you reach your page?
Oh, no, I gave up. I'm on my phone.
Good thing I read this yesterday, cause yeah, it won't go to your agenda item or anything. Will yours go? Mine says can't find the page. Oh, look at Brian, he's special. Okay,
All right, this is yet another amendment to our contract with Oregon Health Authority to fund local public health services here in Crook County. We had 4 of our service area budgets amended. One is our communicable disease, that's PEO 101. They have awarded our full amount for the year, so that's anticipated for what we budgeted for this fiscal year. It just took a while to trickle back in. We have some federal funds that have been rolling over for quite some time. We have to have them spent out by June 30th of this year. That's PEO 109. And a lot of that is going towards our respiratory response, flu, COVID, RSV. I think I put PEO 101 in twice. And I'm going to figure out why by the end of this meeting. P 4402, we did have an award increase in that one as well. So everything is as budgeted except the federal funds and PO 109. We did end up rolling forward a little bit more than anticipated in the original budget process by about $3,000, $4,000, so not a huge amount.
I guess I have no internet again. You gave me your disease. We do need to open a case.
Back and forth. Well, we got some extra funds for that. So.
Okay. It seems like you got, when I read it yesterday, at least we got more money. You didn't really get less.
No,
So
we're on
that was
target.
good. Yeah.
We're on target for everything as budgeted with a little bit more in some areas. So that's good news for this fiscal year anyway. Do you want me to go on to the next one? Or
Yes, please. Sure. Go ahead.
All right. Our next one is Community Health Advisory Council appointments. We had several for this round. In our meeting on October 6th, we went through the majority of these applications. There were 4. Tom Evans, Rita Roden, Emily Jerome, and Grant Haval. Their applications were all attached. They did all receive unanimous support from the committee. I will note that Rita Roden is one of my staff members, and typically staff members, because this group advises health and public health, general health and behavioral health issues, our staff are typically there as staff and not voting members. We didn't have that conversation in the meeting, which is my bad for not catching it at the October 6th meeting, but I did want to give that information to you. I did have a conversation with Rita to talk through that dynamic. She's good either way. I encouraged her, if she doesn't get appointed, to attend as a staff member. If you do appoint her, then we would likely have to amend bylaws to reflect that there would only be one vote per organization. We don't have that dynamic right now and haven't. We should probably amend the bylaws to reflect that anyway. Either that, or, I mean, in the meantime, if you appoint her before we amend bylaws, one of us would have to abstain in any voting scenario.
Seems like it would be a lot easier if she just attended as staff rather than we do everything.
Yeah, I think we'll have to do that anyway for future, but in the interim, yes, and we do have another recruitment out for members. If all of these folks are appointed, we have room for one more. If Rita is not appointed, then we would have
2 more.
available. We would have 2 seats available.
Okay. And she would be amiable to, I think she would provide input that would be good, but she's fine coming as staff.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't lose her input.
Correct.
Okay, I agree with Brian. So both of these just roll over to consent agenda with the exception of Rita?
Yeah.
Or do we need to make a motion and all about Rita? Did she attend as staff, or how do we need to handle
I do
that?
have one more person, because we had,
I'm sorry.
that's okay. We had to hold a special meeting on November 3rd because our recruitment was open through October 6th, which was the day of our last meeting. And we received an applicant, after we had met and reviewed. So we held a special meeting to review that applicant. Audra Oliver was that applicant, and the group voted unanimously to support her recommendation to you all.
So, Commissioner, to answer your question, I don't think you need to make a motion today. I think the discussion today, unless there's any dissent, is sufficient for staff members to update the appointment order and bring it back next Wednesday to be formally adopted.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm good with it. I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's no reason to change the whole system.
I think I'm actually getting back on my computer, Katie.
So Eric, will it roll to consent, or will we just put it as a discussion again?
I guess it's up to the commissioners, but I don't see any reason that it necessarily has to be a discussion item.
We can just put the order on consent.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm totally fine. It's just whatever proper procedure is.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie.
Okay, off-highway vehicle, OHV road ordinance draft. Brian.
Yes.
Will, do you want to take the lead?
Sure, I'll kick it off. So this is follow up to a conversation we had in work session, back in September. The staff received direction to put together a draft, OHV ordinance, which Brian has helped put together, and taken the lead on. This is just kind of here on the agenda for conversation before we bring it up for.
So I believe Matt's on. Should we participate in this, you think?
Hi, good morning, commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yes, Matt. Okay, sorry, Will, interrupted. Again.
No worries. So we, with Brian's hard work, there's a draft OHV ordinance, in your packet. We're looking for feedback today. We did receive a few comments from Matt Miller, in response to the draft, that is part of the packet today. And I think I'll let Brian walk through the ordinance, and then, I'll comment on some of his comments, or since Matt's here, I can let him.
Can you put it up on the screen, seeing as, I don't know what in the heck is wrong with this computer, but it won't connect to the internet at all. Getting a little tired, I'm about ready to throw it off the table. Vehicles, page one, the next one is,
This one, right?
So, good morning, Commissioners. Right, what you see is the draft ordinance that I put together. And what you see is the county draft. It doesn't have any other input. And I think it's important to see what, for the commissioners, is this is what the county put together before any outside input. So it's good, that Mr. Miller, right, has some input, but what you need to see first is what county put up with before, soliciting outside input on what the county put together. So the ordinance starts off with these highway vehicles that the county prohibits the use of them on county roads, except through this chapter, right, through a license or given by the county, or where you have these vehicles being used for agricultural purposes. So that's where this ordinance starts off, is like these are illegal to use on county roads, except unless you have a license from the county or agricultural purposes. That's the starting point. And then it gets into the requirements to have a license. And this is really focuses on what type of vehicles are going to be permitted here, right? And what kind of safety devices should be on these vehicles. All right, so it gets into all the requirements in order to get a license. And then it goes, the next part is procedures, is what's the process by which the county and specifically the roads department is going to process, these licenses. And so what's that process? In those procedures, it does allow the road department to put additional restrictions on the license, specifically when it gets into times of year, times of day, weather conditions, that it allows the road department to make those restrictions as far as, for safety considerations. And then next is the terms and conditions of that license, as far as, that the licensee will comply with all the do's and don'ts, terms and conditions of the license. So that's how this ordinance is laid out. The ordinance does allow the county to charge a code enforcement fee, right? Just simply for the staff work, as opposed to a use or access permit. Is what we're trying to avoid. What we want to maintain, I should say, is the recreational immunity by not charging for use of the county road, or be perceived as you charging for use of the county road. We're not charging for the use of the county road. We're just charging for staff time in order to do that. So we want to maintain that recreational immunity that's there under state law to do this. So that's how this ordinance is laid out.
So I've got a few questions on the agricultural exemption. If you're in agriculture, you can just use ATVs wherever you want.
Only like in the agricultural purposes, and this is, so long as you have like a slow moving vehicle sign on the back, and that's like any other slow moving farm equipment, right? Tractor, combine. It's not, and it's just more of, if you use these for agricultural purposes. And
Like a 4-wheeler, would that be considered a slow moving vehicle?
yes.
so, yeah, because my question would be, you have hay fields
Yes.
that are a mile down the road. You can take your Polaris out of that hay field and run down the road, and there's no
Yes.
consequence or licensing or anything required.
And I think that's pretty standard. I think, if I remember, the deputy sheriff had mentioned in September, that's kind of standard and permissible on roads, so long as you have a slow moving insignia on the
But you do have to have a slow moving thing on
yes, as I understand, correct, yes.
it? Okay.
I haven't seen a lot of those in town.
It's not, don't implicate,
I can
you might not
guarantee-
implicate
I
yourself.
can guarantee you there's not one of them in Paulina, but we have horses, but we have horses and cows on the road. We don't have slow moving on their tails either.
Sounds like the county sheriff's department might have to do some more enforcement there on the plan.
We have to figure out how to braid them into the horses' tails. Yes,
So my other question is, I'm all for giving people as much opportunity to use the roads and everything, but my biggest concern is that we're not. If we allow this, I would like to see an opportunity to allow regular citizens to use it and not just, and have some type of, I don't think it should be just.
Yeah.
Let it rip,
Yeah.
but I think we need to give them the opportunity to get a similar, go through a similar process.
But isn't there a process, and maybe I'm wrong, I've never, but like you can take a golf cart and you can make it street legal, right, through DMV,
Oh, yeah.
can't you?
Yes.
So why couldn't you then, in that respect, take your Polaris and make it street legal? I mean, I don't know, is that true? Am I totally off?
No, I've seen it, they have them at the coast all the time, where they're.
Yeah, so,
And I can speak to that a little bit, just from my time on the Oregon State OHV Safety Committee. The DMV or Oregon State Marine Board hasn't really committed to going through a licensing process for quote unquote off-road vehicles or vehicles that are titled as an off-highway vehicle. There are state highways, so there's a state committee that does open access to state roads, and then of course there are counties who have their OHV ordinances, and then within that there are cities that have an ordinance, but typically it allows just general OHV use. There are some insurance requirements, that sort of thing. Currently in Oregon, there's no pathway per se to license an ATV, but there has been legislative bills in committee, and they haven't made it in for a vote yet.
But you're saying there are communities that allow, with a certain type of insurance, citizens to drive their OA?
Yeah, so Lake County, Grant County, they have pretty broad OHV ordinances. Basically, all county roads are open except for. And then in Baker County, they have a similar ordinance, mostly rural Eastern Oregon counties. I don't know of any off the top of my head that are in more dense population centers. But yeah, there are a few example ordinances out there that counties have done to open OHV access.
If we were to do that here, would that take care of your problem too?
I mean, yes. I think what would probably better serve Crook County is looking at the sections where it makes sense for recreation purposes and open those if you were to go that route in just a broad ordinance.
Yeah. I mean, my concern is that we're doing something special for a group of people where I think there's going to be people, because I know I've heard from a lot of citizens that they would like to be able to use their ATVs. And I don't think it should just be let it rip. But if you have to have a certain type of insurance or whatever, then I think anybody that wants to do it should be able to do it personally. Or anybody or no, I would prefer people be able to do things, not government stop them. But I also think that if we're going to allow a commercial group, then we should allow regular citizens that are willing to jump through similar hoops.
So, Commissioner, my original draft had commercial entities and individuals.
Okay.
Just talking to the county manager, decided to narrow that just to commercial entities.
I think so.
So it's just whatever. But I had commercial entities and individuals, so that could meet the requirements if they wanted to. But we decided to start narrow for your consideration, as far as how this goes, before opening it up. But it's totally your prerogative.
I'm kind of in favor of maybe baby steps. Let's do a little more research into opening up the whole county for it. I'm not necessarily opposed to it, but I think to do due diligence in that subject, there needs to be more due diligence in the fact of looking at it and seeing how law enforcement feels about it and just general everything.
It would scare me to look outside here and have Polaris is going every which way.
Well, this is the city.
Quads. again, but.
Yeah.
Juniper Canyon,
Yeah, but I mean, again, if they're willing to go, I mean, it's not
I
just.
understand what you're
let it
saying,
rip.
but I agree with Ryan that maybe we need to look at it a little bit closer, you know. That said, I mean, yeah, I mean, I agree with A, but. Because a
And
lot
I-
of times, now when you're moving cattle, a lot of people are moving them with quads. Polaris.
And that issue may be taken care of in the state in the near future anyway, so
I wouldn't hold your breath.
if the dollars would figure into it, then it might happen.
Yeah, I don't, how much longer would we have to research it to be able to do something for everyone versus just one aspect of the community?
Oh, I don't know, but I think that, I think what we're trying to do here is to, put Matt and his business in a fashion to move forward with the other folks that he's doing this for, and, I think we can always come back and amend it and make change and include it if that's what's desired.
When you wrote this ordinance, did you look at Grant counties and, Lake County and Baker? Did you look at them at all, Brian?
No, I did not, just because it's so
Open?
And so here, since, we're doing licensing, so now, it's not open, it's like on a case by case basis. So I didn't look at that because it was too broad to follow.
I see.
If that makes sense.
But you did come up with a system where you could have a regular citizen go through a similar licensing.
That
program.
whole process that is set up
Yeah.
for an individual to still do the same thing as a commercial entity. What it doesn't include is the quad runners. So we're just talking side by side, which is, right, I think was just more safer and
Yes.
better for the road.
Yeah.
And the side by sides, anybody who had a side by side, and that could have all the safety features of that, of that side by side, could go through the process. So if, I don't know, a year or whatever, wanted just like that, you wanna, after looking at how this goes.
Yeah, I'd like to see the full option and just look and see what that. What's the time frame? Is it super time sensitive that we get this done, or could we spend a little more time looking at the whole thing? And then if that is palatable, then we can have that conversation. I think.
What worries me too, you take a side by side, you get up to, and you get in our Polarises and it says that they go 100 miles an hour. I'm gonna guarantee you get about 40, they get squirrely.
Yeah.
And that worries me also.
Sure.
And they get squirrely and you may have that sense that, it goes to 100 miles an hour, but you're flipping.
Well, I mean,
So
if you get
I get a
in a
little
truck,
worried about it.
if you get in a truck and you go 110,
You're
it's
gonna
gonna get
think,
a little squirrely. and you're
I
gonna get-
agree, but you know what I'm saying? I think sometimes that they give you a false sense of what you can do with them, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, but I agree,
Yeah.
but I mean, I think that's where
Yeah.
you have to rely on.
Yeah.
I mean,
My question is
going to
basically,
gun laws.
what is your
Different
thought?
things of like.
I know, I get it, but what is your thoughts, Will?
Well, when we initially started looking into this, we did receive some feedback from CIS, and their initial response was kind of based, as I read it, was based on a broader ordinance, a wider use. And there is some, I haven't received a copy of it or tried to track it down, but it sounds like there is research that suggests once you allow off-road vehicles on county roads, there is a pretty significant increase in accidents that occur. So there's that safety component that needs to be taken into account. There were some other concerns about, increases to traffic, and they also brought up recreational use immunity limitations. But I think my primary concern with making it a broader use would just be the safety component.
Sure.
It's not just the people riding the side by sides, but it's also the people in the vehicles who may get in those wrecks and have to deal with the outcome of what could be a pretty bad accident. So I mean, staff's happy to look into it. I think, there's probably some legal and liability reasons that most counties have not just broadly allowed that type of use on county roads, but staff can certainly look into it. We will add some time to finalize.
I think we're talking about two separate, because I don't disagree that we shouldn't just say, let it rip. If you've got an ATV, you can go out, but if we have a process where we're allowing a commercial entity to go through a process of getting a certain kind of insurance and have a mirrored process for citizens that they have to have the, I don't know, whatever the requirements that we lay out are, and that they are revocable and all these other things. That I think is a different conversation than what they're doing in Baker, Lake, and Grant County, where they just say, you know, as long as it has four wheels and an engine. I assume it's something similar, you know.
Yeah,
Not
and that's
restrictive.
pretty much what we've done here. This isn't selected just for Matt, it's anybody that qualifies can do the same thing, so.
With a commercial business.
With a commercial.
And that's where I get it, because I think we should allow anybody who can go through the process and do that. If we're gonna do it, we should allow the citizens to have the same ability as the commercial.
But then you just kind of open it up to everybody, if you don't have some type of.
Well, but I think that
I
there is a
think it would be a
process.
very timely thing for the sheriff's department with that ordinance to have to take care of.
There'd be the question of processing those. I'm assuming it sounds like what you're describing, Commissioner Crawford, is like if somebody wanted it for personal use, they'd still have to come in and get the license, right? So I don't know how popular that program would be, but there'd be staff time involved in terms of, you still have to kind of figure out if that's road department, community development, who's going to be processing those applications. But there's a time component associated with that. But again, you know, we'll take direction from the board in terms of what you guys want us to look into. We're happy to do some additional research and kind of be able to better articulate some of the risks that would potentially come along with broadening the ordinance. And you know, I think Brian's put together a really good start for the ordinance. So we could also kind of proceed with that, take the baby steps, but intentionally kind of move forward with looking into what it would take to broaden the ordinance as well. So.
If we put like a time frame on it to be able to work through the other part, because what I don't want to see is this to happen and then it just kind of gets, I know we're extremely busy on all kinds of fronts, so I'm not trying to do that, but I think if this gets out and citizens start saying, well, you know, I want this, you know, I think we need to be prepared.
Well, I think we pretty much have the contract. I think as it sits now. So if they qualify under the business portion of it, and they can immediately move forward if they meet all the requirements. And if you turn it out to non-business to individuals, they're still gonna have to meet all of the requirements. That's not going to change, plus the fees that are involved in order to be able to get it.
That's all I'm looking to do is to add individuals with the same requirements as the commercial.
So
Yeah.
I think that's a matter that, like I said, baby steps first. Let's get this rolling and see how it goes, and then if we want to extend it into the general public in a fashion, then we can better define how that's going to happen in addition to what the commercial is.
So maybe like 4 months, could have a conversation and come back with opportunities to expand it.
I think I agree with Brian. I think we take what has been worked on right now and just go from there and yeah, I think we just take this right now and again, baby steps. I'm scared to open this up too wide. I think our liability would be really increased, in my opinion, and our sheriffs are already We don't have enough out there. We're not, just like Bill said, we had whatever you call that term, off-site or whatever your term was because of that. I don't think we need to add one more layer to it. I think we just, like you say, adopt, 2 baby steps, and then down the road, if we get a super outcry, then we adjust.
What we're doing now is all in a controlled environment, it's controlled. It's different than if I just go get one and go to the driving it around and doing things. This is a tour and it's new, good equipment, and it's slow rate, and, there are responsible people that are conducting it. And it's just a whole different environment than if you open it up for me, if I want one.
Yeah, I don't agree. I think we should open it, but that's fine. I'm not gonna agree on everything.
Like I say, I think baby steps.
I mean, again, I'm totally fine with baby steps as long as we have a plan to get to the adult steps.
Well, I would say that, like I said, CIS has already made a very strong argument there, with increased liability. I'm connected finally. Let's see how long.
So is there any more discussion on this, Matt? You sent some information with some preferences, and as I informed you that this is not specifically for you, but this is for the county ordinance. So
Right.
if, with your knowledge of the laws and things on it, if you see somewhere that we've gone astray or something, then let us know. But
You jinxed it.
But and that's my only comments were around aligning it with state law in a couple of regards. One is the OHV safety requirements, which currently in Oregon for class 4, which is what a side-by-side is, there is no OHV safety card requirement. That may change in the future, but currently, as long as you have a valid driver's license, you can operate that vehicle. And then the other section 5C, around the definition of a minor passenger, was instead of 12 years old, having that be 8 years old or 4 foot 9 inches in height. Essentially the height that they would be out of a car seat, and able to safely, sit in a seat with their seatbelt on. And that's what's in our, as far as our safety requirements, what's in our insurance, marketing material, that sort of thing. And I think what you'll commonly find out there, you typically, and that's where if you go to a more broad ordinance, I know in different states, stuff like that, people will put car seats in and all that, which we can't even do with our the way that we're insured with Polaris. But that was the only comment. I think the insurance requirements are, after looking into it a little bit more and what we're able to get, I think that's not a problem at all. Yeah, and then I guess the first one, section 5B, as far as what's out there and available right now, regarding blinker kits and stuff like that. And this can totally be up to you guys. A lot of states accept hand signals as turn signals. There are aftermarket blinker kits available. They generally don't have emergency flashers. I think we can work around that by like a strobing light. They make those for race applications. And those were the only comments I had, and it was more about just aligning it with what's out there at a state level.
So, Commissioner, if I can address Mr. Miller's comments. So the ordinance does not require a safety card. I think Mr. Miller, in his presentation in September, he said that all drivers and passengers would receive a safety briefing.
Oh, yes, yes.
That's required. No safety card. A safety
Okay.
briefing. Right, so that's where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take your word out of that. Everybody's gonna receive a briefing on the side by sides. And
Yes.
so, yep, so a safety briefing, well, let's put that into the ordinance.
Okay.
The flashers, whatever it is this if a side by side breaks down and it's off the side of the road and it gets dark, just something to indicate to oncoming traffic that is a distress signal of some sort, whether it's an emergency vehicle probe flashers or those emergency triangle kits that you put you can set up something to indicate, especially when it gets dark and you're not able to tow it out immediately, to alert oncoming traffic that there's a vehicle off to the side of the road. So we can certainly change emergency flashers to something to broaden it up to indicate something, to require that you have something to set up or to illuminate, to indicate that there's a broke down vehicle. As far as the 12 versus 8-year-old, fully up to the county, so 8, I think what, like Mr. Miller said, 8 years old or 4.4 foot 9 inches, either one, you're out of a booster seat, so you're allowed just to sit in and have a seatbelt on. I think that's reasonable, and we can certainly adjust that language if the commissioners.
4.49 inches.
4 foot 9 inches.
Oh, 4 foot 9.
So either you're 8 years old or you're 4 foot 9 inches, then you're out of the booster seat under 4-year-old. So
seems really tall.
Really tall for an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
So I like the strobes. We have those on our farm equipment. They are much easier, but I'll ask input from the sheriff's department.
Strobes, some kind of a lighting system.
Okay,
we can
yeah, I think that's all reasonable and makes a lot of sense.
We can make those adjustments with that, and that way it's I think ready for our next regular meeting.
Okay.
Yeah,
So the next, we can make those adjustments, Matt, and then this goes before a hearing. We have to have 2 hearings. And so it'll be set up. I'll leave that and sets them up, but it'll go to a hearing. And then 2 weeks later or something, it goes to another hearing.
Okay, that sounds great.
Anything else, anyone? Okay, thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys.
You're welcome. Okay, another Brian, you're still up.
Yes. So what you have before you is a draft termination of lease agreement. This termination would terminate a 2013 lease that the county has with the county Parks and Rec district for the 6.73 acres that is just south of the fairgrounds across the canal along the Crook River Road. So in 2013, they leased to Parks and Rec, right? This acreage to construct ball fields and soccer fields. In 2019, the same, right? The county, Parks and Rec, and the city entered into a permanent easement, right, to build the water facility there on the corner of the property. But since then, nothing's happened to that property. And so now, both parties are, agreeable to terminating that lease and returning it, turning it fully back to the county.
Yeah, I can speak to this a little bit. I contacted Brian to help me put this together. So we got a call from the people who originally donated the property, and there's a lot of dirt and things standing on the property and, it was just brought to our attention that that's not really what they envisioned the property for. They envisioned it more to be a fairgrounds. Extension to the fairgrounds. And so, I talked to the Parks and Rec and they were really willing to work with us. They do have some side deals with some people that have some equipment, or not equipment, but rock and dirt and some stuff on the property, and that's why it's a little bit farther out. They need to move that stuff off. But then Casey's also got some plans. There's a large amount of wood, weeds, and some stuff that needs to be burned. And but Casey's totally on board to plant some grass and kind of spruce it up a little bit, and then have it for overflow parking. And so, yeah, I just think we want to make sure we put in a realistic timeline, and I've talked to a few people involved, and January 15th sounds like it should work. And
that's obviously, since I can't bring this up because we have this Wi-Fi disease going on. I have it anyway. Brian had it too for a minute because Katie left. They're fine with the January 15th. And that's written in here.
I had to put the 15th in there. So, yeah, I think they just need to stay on the person who's got the stuff in there. I know they are busy with other things, and so. And their one caveat is that they can use it during Little League season. And
for parking,
and I don't see any reason why we wouldn't let them. I don't think we need to actually put it in the contract, but.
Okay, so my only question would be, it's a grass field. So now we have the lease on it, and if Little League were to go on there, is there any liability problems with that? I get out of my car and the only reason is this morning I said to James Prius, good thing we just did the library, because down in Whittier, a woman walked out of the library, hit uneven pavement, and was awarded $7.5 million. So obviously, as our courts become this way, is there any, if we do that, does that increase anything? It's not any different from I'm coming to the fair and I park there, but it's just an act of God. Yeah. Okay. Like I say, I'm gonna bring it up just because because it's almost gotta be on our mind.
So commissioners, later this evening, Parks and Rec will have their meeting. And so this is on their agenda. And so if you're fine with the termination agreement straightforward, it gives them until January 15th. And, it does reference the 2013 agreement, which says in the event that this agreement is terminated, that the Parks and Rec would return the property back in the same condition. And so that is, so there's a reference to that they got to return the property back to the county in the same condition as they had, got it. And they'll work with the fairgrounds manager on doing that. But they have until January 15th.
I think
it is right in here.
Commissioner Hemrick was more talking about if we do return it back to a parking lot.
Now it comes back to the county.
Is there any concern about allowing other people to use it?
Yeah, which again, it's, you hope that wouldn't happen, but now it's the county having it. Before it was Park and Rec.
And so like anything.
Anything, I could chirp right outside here, yes.
Well, and we've always used it for overflow parking,
Yeah.
even when they had the lease on it.
Yeah,
And really, you could go park your car anywhere in the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
Any day of the week.
Yeah.
So I think that's.
it's just, you have to bring it up
Yeah.
because it's an issue. That's all. But I actually can have this for 5 minutes in front of my thing and everything looks good to me. I'm sorry, the Wi-Fi keeps going out.
Chelsea said it was fixed.
She did?
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's good. It's great.
Yes, I think it's
It'll
time.
be great if
Time to
Casey
get
can
this
clean it up and
cleaned
make it additional parking, and it'll work good for, there's a lot of people that come and play in those ball fields, soccer, baseball, and there is no place to park, and they park on the road,
Yeah.
which is not.
Which is even
so
worse.
This is going
She's
to
doing
be,
it more unsafe.
that will be helpful for that, so I would assume we just take this for the consent agenda.
Sounds good.
Managers report.
I don't have anything this morning. Just a reminder to folks in the room and online. Next week is the AOC conference, so a number of us will be out of town next week.
So I have a question about that. So we're gone Wednesday of next week, and then we declared the Wednesday, last time we declared the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, so that means we won't have any Board of Commissioners meeting for basically 2 weeks.
Till December 3rd.
So I wasn't thinking about that when we voted. Is there any repercussion about that? I'm just
We haven't-
throwing it out there.
As far as I know, we still haven't received any agenda item requests for that meeting on the 26th.
Okay,
So I think
we're
it's
okay.
a big travel day, so I don't
Yeah.
anticipate it should.
Like I say, I wasn't thinking about it because I really didn't realize the conference was that quick. But that was just a thing because Seth and I will both be at that conference.
We might have a slightly longer agenda
On the 3rd.
Okay.
You gotta
Which
pay
now-
somewhere.
And then I do have to note,
Bring your lunch.
I got that scholarship thing to go to the Dalles, so I will not be here on December 3rd for that NACO Energy Day. So just so you know, so,
And if something does come up, you have the option of a special meeting or an emergency meeting, so you're not checked.
but yeah, I didn't expect to get this thing from December 1st through the 3rd, but I did, so, yeah.
do have one-
The longer agenda.
Oh,
They'll have the longer agenda, not me.
I have one more item. We received an invoice from Crook County Foundation. In August of this year, they requested use of the Carrie Foster Hall for the holiday partnership. Last year, my understanding is they also asked for a $5,000 donation or contribution.
There
It-
was 2 motions
so-
made last year.
Yeah, so last year there were 2 motions made, one for Carrie Foster Hall use and then one for the $5,000. The invoice we received this year included the $5,000, but there was only a motion in August for use of the Carrie Foster Hall. So I guess my ask is if you'd like us to reach out to Crook County Foundation and have them come and make that request for $5,000, or if your intent is to make that donation again.
So they're asking again or we agreed to
We
it.
agreed to the hall, which is do you remember what that was for? The hall, just because I think it's quite a bit.
So it was from the
Price on it,
8th through
It's
the
almost a month.
19th.
Yeah, it's quite a bit.
Right.
So it looks like it's 11 days in December.
But they didn't request on
No,
that
they
in
didn't.
August, the
They did-
$5,000
and they did
donation.
Last year, we did the holiday and the
Yes.
5.
But when I got the invoice, I didn't have a motion to pay it because
No.
last year they did make the request for both.
Yes, they did.
This year they did
No,
not,
no,
but I
they were-
received an invoice and didn't know what you guys
Totally.
wanted to do.
So,
What's the cost of the 11 days?
That's what I'm saying. I think it's quite a bit.
Yeah, I think it's
I
substantial.
mean, I'm wondering if we maybe, because God knows I'm for the holiday partnership and I'm for food assistance and what we're doing, but I'm wondering if we just half that.
Do you know what the cost is for the 11 days?
I don't have it.
It's
It's not in
quite-
the minutes.
It was, I don't think it was put onto the agenda, whereas last year it was put onto the agenda.
There was no specific amount
No,
on their
But it's
request for
quite
the
a
11
bit.
days.
Casey isn't on there, but I wanted to say it was like $7,000, but maybe I'm totally
I
off.
think you might not be far off because it's gotta be $500 or $600 a day for that place. And if it's 11 days, that's 11 times, say it's 500,
I wonder
there's
if I-
5,000 right there.
Well, I'm happy to have a good
Yeah, I would
look
just
into
do a
that,
little research and see.
confirm. And we'll keep the foundation and we can let them know that we're looking into this. But if the board's in agreement, we'll do a little digging.
I wonder if I can even find it on here. Open
Yeah, there's-
writing and go arrangement.
Looking good,
Yeah,
see what we're donating now and what.
yeah. I don't know why, but I think it was last year, it was like that, about that. I'm just saying. We need to start being much more careful. With our community benefit about facilities. Okay, Foster Hall, let's see right here. So it's $588 a day. Is what it is. So you multiply that times 11. Yeah, I thought it was almost 7. Not that I don't think that we shouldn't support this, but we need to look at we're at the beginning kind of our community benefit, and it worries me. We also, for the first time, are collecting food at the health department and out here. I don't know how Megan is done with that. If we've had any food donations, which is what they're gonna be used for. And again, it's hard for me to say no, but it's also, we need to look at what we have before us.
Well, I think it's almost $7,000 in the donations, pretty nice donation, really. Because I think they think we just let it rip and it doesn't cost anything, but somebody's paying for it. Because we can't.
So, it's basically, like you say, 7,000. That's why I was just wondering to show support if we did half of what we had previously done.
If we did half.
It'd be 2,500.
Oh, I see. I thought you meant half of everything.
Yeah, no, I'm not going after for this.
Okay, I see.
But now we
That's what I
we
didn't
have
understand.
supported the citizens of Crook County. We have done that, but we're also showing a little bit of, like I say, maybe holding back a little bit because we are at the beginning of our budget. So
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that.
So do you guys?
I'm fine with that too. Cap it. What did it come to? Can you just cap it at 10?
That's not a bad idea. Total.
Well, it would be 6402 with the 11 days. And so if we did if you just capped it at 10,000, it would be,
36.
yeah.
okay, we could do that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to reflect that donation rate, or however we want to say, to the foundation, and then that means you don't have to follow up anymore. I feel second.
Second.
Motion been made second to cap the 10,000. All in favor, say aye.
Herrick, aye.
Crock,
Barney, aye.
And just when we do send that, if we can express that that's where we're at right now.
Anything additional, Will?
Nope, that's all. Thank you.
Commissioner updates?
I got a pretty neat opportunity. In February, there's a logging conference in Eugene.
I saw that. Are we gonna go be a
Yeah.
logger? Do you have a red flannel?
I
checkered shirt?
got suspenders.
Well, we gotta get you a red flannel checkered shirt.
I got one of those too. And so I talked to the gentleman and they'd like me to come down and talk about how important voting is when it comes to natural resources, and maybe a little nervous because it said 40 minutes, but they said that was the max. So I don't think I could drone on for quite that long.
I saw that on the email thing, and I wondered if you would wanna do that.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, because
Good
I
for
think
you.
we've got a lot of things coming up, especially in the state this year, and elections have consequences, so.
You definitely do.
Great. Thanks for standing up.
Yeah, no, very much thanks. And the biggest thing is tell them they need to come out and vote.
Yeah,
That's the biggest thing right there.
Commissioner, you have anything?
No, I've already said that I was going to those things, so I'm done, I guess.
Okay, I don't have anything, so that ends this one, and we'll go into executive session.
Well, is there any public comment though? I think, don't we do public?
No, we don't, we made it up,
Okay,
but you did beginning and end. Is that just the regular?
just on the regular session. So, I'll read in the record. Crook County Executive Sessions, Crook County Board of Commissioners will now meet in executive session under ORS 192-6602. F, to consider information or records that are exempt by law from public inspection. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All of the members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decisions may be made in executive sessions. At the end of executive session, we will return to open session and welcome the audience back into the room. Thank you, everyone that's online, for being here. Okay, we're back into regular session. Crook County, the Crook County Board of Commissioners will now leave executive session ORS 1926602F to consider information or records that are exempt by law from public inspection. Representatives of the news media and designated staff were allowed to attend the executive session. All of the members of the audience were asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media were specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision was made in executive sessions. We are now returned to open session and welcome the audience back into the room.
Commissioners, based on the conversation in the executive session, I might recommend a motion to direct counsel to correspond with the counterparty and to prepare such necessary documents as was discussed in the executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Crawford,
Herrick, aye.
Barney, aye. So moved. Okay, we're all done. All right, well then, motion to disband.
You want me to take?
I'll take it.
Second.
Oh, well, second.
Motion made and second.
Herrick,
All in
aye.
favor, say aye. Barney.
Herrick, aye.
Crawford,
So moved.